down to today. Shakaminga Kotriakalo, Shayabana Chimolika Daniel, Gauli and then Zolika the Yakwilfo, Equity
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Porthole to Justice. I am your host, Amelia Duran. Hi, welcome. It is Thursday, July 11th, 2019, and that is Zeph Daniels' original music, available on iTunes. Okay, guys, I have a special guest today, Mr. Don Rufy. He is one of the original, he's one of the, probably one of one of the founding people in the movement that I'm aware of personally. And coming up on 2020, he's really, wanting to create awareness about the damage that is done by the illicit actions of crooked judges. And he's kind of boldly speaking out on this. So I'm going to be having him on as a guest. Really great guy. I'm here to talk about success. All right. So stand by just a second. I'm getting ready. I have gotten so many emails and messages in my inbox today regarding, President Trump. And, a lot of people are really upset, apparently. The backlash is because human trafficker Jeffrey Epstein was arrested. And, I usually create memes and I report on my blogs, on all of my platforms, when there is a conviction and indictment, especially regarding human trafficking. But I am not a pro-CPS activist. I'm an activist against juvenile courts. People that commit crimes against children should be tried in a criminal court. Parents, I feel that parents should have due process. I'm an activist to shut down the juvenile courts, because I feel that they operate with gang stalking, lying, fabricating evidence, fraud on the court, and the social workers target. And they create smear campaigns often, and I've personally experienced this, so I refuse to be like that. And so I try to be very careful, and the cases against Trump were dismissed, and I need a conviction or an indictment. Anything less is a witch hunt. And the people that are contacting me, I don't just, there has to be something, some kind of meat to the, I try to stick to just reporting on convictions and indictments. I just want to put that out there because a lot of people are very impassioned. Gotten a couple threats, and people flooding my inbox with information. And, and I did hear there was a case filed in New York against Trump, and that's pending. So let's just see how it plays out, folks. All right, moving on. Let's go ahead and try to give Don a call here. And I'm going to let him have the floor. He can do his spiel. Let's see. Stand by. Hi, Don. Welcome to the Porthole to Justice. We're live.
Thank you. It's good to talk to you again, America.
Yeah, you're welcome. And, as we come up to 2020, I'd love to have you on the show reoccurring because I want to make this one of the number one topics coming up for the 2020 election.
Oh, well, I should read you something that I just wrote this morning, which was because I would assume that most of the people who listen to your broadcasts are in the family rights movement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, I just shared this with some people this morning.
We've had 80,000 listens, Don.
Good. Well, crowds don't bother me. I was a cheerleader at NC State for 4 years.
Okay.
So, what I was saying this morning, it says, bring the heat. I said, we need to bring the family court CPS racket and its demise to the forefront of political discussion. During the next couple of months in this presidential election year, we need to let all politicians know that this is the number one political issue. Putting the family court CPS racket out of business should be in the political platform of every candidate. The racket has been cited as the number one problem in America. This is very important to the family rights movement at this time. We have a challenge before us. Why don't you put your thinking cap on and see if you can come up with some suggestions to implement this strategy? We can suggest that others do the same and compile a collective group of suggestions to share with the movement. All right, it's done. And then I said, look forward to receiving them. Good strategy wins wars. And I did get some comment in regard to that from Lena Wilson just a little while ago. And she was a thumbs up. And then I said, you are a political person. She is. She was a protege of Nancy Schaefer. All right, probably you can most likely make some good suggestions along this line. My suggestion is that we get our heads together as a think tank and formulate good strategy at this time in history for the family rights movement. I believe that good strategy wins wars, and we are in a big war. Is the American people under attack by the family court CPS racketeers? So, she made something that says political ops work best to get politicians' attention. Twitter ops work best to get politicians' attention because you hit media in a bombardment effort with numbers and pics. Emails work too. Jon Snow has sent an enormous amount of email addresses out to people in the movement over and over and over again. And some of those lists are pretty easy to use. I know I captured one or two of them that he sent to me that were for politicians in the House, so-and-so house.gov, like that. whole bunch of them. And the way that you can use those pretty easily is not individually, but you can hit blind copy and have that list, copied, and then paste that into that blind copy section, and it'll send out whatever it is that you're sending to all of those politicians, which I think is pretty cool. I think he's really done an enormous amount of work with getting those email addresses out to people.
Okay. Is he on Facebook?
Oh yeah, I will put you in touch with him if you would like.
Yeah.
He doesn't. I don't think he wants to really be on any Zoom broadcasts, or maybe not Skype broadcasts. He obviously is wanting to keep a very low profile. He probably figures the crooks are going to come after him, which could happen. I mean, that could happen to all of us. But what did the founding fathers of this country say? Our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. They were putting their lives on the line. And to be quite frank, there's a lot of worse things to die for.
Well, yeah, this has been going on for a very long time, and I'm actually, and I said at the top of the show, I'm an activist. Actually, if crimes are being committed against children, I think they need to be tried in a criminal court, and
yes.
I'm for due process. 100%.
Yep.
I'm not really. I'm not pro CPS or juvenile courts.
Okay. Well, here's the way my general point of view in regard to the movement is this: the family court / CPS racket simply operates by virtue of the judges in those courts violating people's rights. Every time they do, they are committing a felony under federal law. U.S. Code, Title 18, Section 242. It's very clear cut, very easy to read, very easy to understand, and it is not especially lengthy. It's very much to the point. It says anytime any public official violates anybody's rights, and it does specify judges and cops and a bunch of others, then they are committing a felony. And it said that it should be indicted and prosecuted. They should be incarcerated up to a life term in prison, or the death penalty, depending upon the circumstances. So that's my point of view. It doesn't really make any difference. The crimes that they're committing, for the most part, are, as you mentioned, due process violations and denial of jury trials. I know that's what Jon Snow is always harping about, and that's part of it. That's happens very, very frequently to litigants in these family court cases. Even when they demand a jury trial, which everybody doesn't, the judge says, well, you can't have a jury trial. He's denying them the right to a jury trial, which is guaranteed them by the 7th Amendment of the United States Constitution and a lot of state constitutions. But yet, they write a state statute that is in contradiction to their own state constitution and the United States Constitution. And the supremacy clause of the Constitution says that if they come up, politicians come up with some kind of city ordinance or county regulation or state statute that is contrary to the Constitution, it is void on its face. It's no good. It doesn't count. And yet they're operating on that premise that it's valid, which it is not. So the key to bringing down the racket really exists right now in this presidential election year. Donald Trump can put it out of business. He can put the racket out of business very quickly.